What was your high school's biggest scandal? Our football coach got shot in the locker room by a disgruntled parent. Poorly kept secret that the cross-country coach was ducking a girl on the team. Even less well kept is that he had done the same with a girl 5 years early. The kicker is the first girl came back and became a teacher in the district. She and the cross-country coach are married now. Damn. My cross-country coach has a thing with a girl he used to coach. It only started after she had graduated college, which we all found weird, but he's very much not ducking girls on the team currently. A little weird sometimes, but not a disturbed and ducked up individual. A girl in our high school hid her pregnancy pretty well. Bigger girl that didn't really show so nobody knew. She gave birth in a school bathroom alone. Killed the baby and put it in the trash can. The janitor found it later. It turned out that she was sexually and physically abused by her alcoholic father. The baby was his, and she was terrified about what would happen to her if he found out. She was scared for her life and did not know where to turn. Terrible in every sense of the word. The only good to come from it was that her dad went to jail. My school was nicknamed Suicide High because kids kept killing themselves. They were investigating an apparent suicide cult. Edit. More info. Small town in Canada. I'm an old guy, so my senior year of high school was when our school got class computers that connected to the internet. Dial-up. The installation happened over the winter break, and when we got back, suddenly our social studies teacher began showing videos in class. Like every single day. For a while we thought he was just burned out until we noticed that during every video he had his computer monitor turned awkwardly so that no one at the back of the class could see it. After a couple of months, the administration looked through the records for internet use and noticed he spent a lot more time online than everyone else. When they dug deeper to see what he was doing, they learned he was spending entire days surfing pronoun sites during class. He was swiftly and unceremoniously replaced in the middle of the term. My high school barred Ryan White from attending after he was diagnosed with AIDS. Our principal's wife gave a blowjob to her daughter's boyfriend, who were both students at the school at the time. That made for an interesting senior year. One of our maths teachers once entered into a sex contract with a girl when she turned 16. Legal age of consent is 16 here. However, it became evident that he had been talking to her long before she turned 16 and had traded nudes. One of my teachers was, jokingly, accused of pedophilia on the school's Facebook page. Police actually got involved, but as I said, it was a prank, so the only one who got in trouble was the student who posted it. The teacher in question was actually really nice and didn't deserve it. Teenagers can be dicks sometimes. One of the health teachers at my high school was really hot and had a reputation for flirting with girls and putting them in the front of the class in his seating charts so he could interact with them more. I eventually had him for health, and it was all false. I think girls just wanted to boast about the hot teacher giving them attention. I always worried that he'd end up getting in trouble because of those rumors, because he was a genuinely nice guy. Teacher went to Thailand for 4 weeks, came home married with a 20-year girl. He was 60. A ton of guys got in trouble for making a list ranking top 100 hottest girls. They had it in a Google Doc with comments. According to my older brother, it was when somebody sheet in the middle of the gym floor during a class and nobody saw it happen or ever found out who it was. But how? An undercover cop tricked an autistic kid into buying weed for him, then arrested him. We're on Vice News. Football player got drunk at a party, came home, put a pot of water on the stove, and passed out. The house burned down, killing the player and also his handicapped sister and her handicapped friend, who were trapped on the second floor. Principal learns of other students who were at the party and suspends them for underage drinking, which also forbade them from playing in the last football game of the season against the rival school. Football parents were pissed at the principal for the decision. Also, somehow, the dead football player was labeled a hero by some. Death really does vindicate you, even when you indirectly kill 2 handicapped people. finished high school 10 years ago, but last month it was reported that mild religious education teacher was charged with sexual assault of a minor between the late 80s and 1993. So he basically taught hundreds, maybe thousands, of kids, me included, after molesting 2 young girls. Who knows what dodgy shit he got up to between now and th. It happened before I started going there, but one of the students obtained a copy of the school's master key, made 500 copies of it, and sent it to random students in the school's directory. The school threatened to call the FBI on the people who took part in the scheme if they didn't come forward, so they surrendered. The masterminds ended up getting off pretty easy. They weren't allowed to walk at graduation, and they had to pay a portion of the cost to replace every lock in the school, but they were never charged criminally and nothing permanent ever happened to them. The people who received the keys weren't punished, though they did have to turn in the keys. The incident was actually featured in an episode of that old MTV show High School Stories. My school wanted no part in the episode and refused to let the film crew on school property. Edit clarified a few things. I went to a boarding school. One girl had smuggled her 20-year-old boyfriend into her room and got away with it for over a week. He would sneak out to shower while everyone was in class and she would take food to her room saying she had so much work to do. The jig was up when administration discovered cigarette butts outside her window. Edit. I went to work and came home to discover that this thread has exploded. To explain a couple questions I found. Yes, the cigarettes were the smoking gun, but when admin found them, they questioned both her and her room at first. Yes, this girl smuggled her boyfriend into her dorm that she shared with another girl. Her roommate spilled the beans immediately, not wanting to get in any more trouble than she was sure she was already in, though she was pardoned on account of her honesty. Drama teacher and pet teacher got caught screwing each other on school premises. Pet teacher was married and had also previously gotten immediate teacher pregnant, also while married. Big hush hush cover up, but everybody found out within a few days. Both got instantly suspended and we never heard from them again. Oh, and I obviously couldn't go without mentioning the pedophile who raped disabled kids 5 odd years ago, and a teacher who left the school a few years ago who last year was convicted of 7 counts of sexual assault on underage girls. A huge drug bust that was even on the local news. A good amount of kids were arrested during class and were never seen or heard from again. JK, they went to juvie. Nothing big happened while I was there, but a year or 2 after I graduated, a star tennis player was accused of sexually assaulting a mentally handicapped girl that went to the school as well. If I remember correctly, he pleaded guilty to a lesser charge. True story, but I don't blame anyone for doubting it, cause WTF. Preacher's daughter, 13, 14, got pregnant by her older brother. It was a whole huge scandal. A lot of people stopped going to his church. My mom tried to convince her mom to let her have an abortion. The suggestion did not go over well. She had a little noticeable bump and was still attending class. She said the brother raped her, and then that the brother and some of his friends all raped her. He said they'd been fooling around a while and denied it was rape. She ended up miscarrying. The preacher father retired. Apostrophe. In 2010 I, male, 17, walked in on my principal, female 45-ish, masturbating to either Twilight or Twilight-based pronoun. It was not sexy. I may have told 1 or 2 people. You know how news spreads. I kinda feel a little bad about sharing, since she wasn't respected anyway, and was later very kind and lenient with me. Girls soccer coach was banging 2 of the varsity girls. My senior year, some junior who had just transferred that year, and this is a really small private school, got caught selling weed out of his locker. He didn't do this often. I think he forgot it was in his backpack and just decided to wing it because he couldn't get out to his car before lunch. Well, the school faculty took his phone and saw everybody he had texted about weed and brought all of them, like 30 plus people of all ages, into the office to interrogate them. A lot of these kids were really sheltered and had literally bought from him as their first time trying pot. The school made a lot of them call their parents and tell them what happened, so essentially the whole day was full of people nervous and crying. Then eventually he got escorted out of school in handcuffs and expelled in his first semester. My friend Paula, names obviously changed, was dating this guy Maximum. Maximum confessed to her that he had cheated, so she dumped him. A few weeks later she was dating another guy named Sam. A week after she started dating Sam, they were in a life drawing class together. I went to an arts high school, and Maximum burst into the classroom screaming that he was going to kill Sam. Initially, everyone assumed that this was because he was jealous because Sam was with his ex. But somehow, in all the commotion it became apparent that the person he had cheated on Paula with was Sam. So no one was really sure who Maximum was jealous of, Paula or Sam. Paula had known that Maximum was bisexual, but she had no idea that Sam was who he had cheated on her with. Turns out Sam was gay, not even bi. And in love with Maximum, but not really able to admit it, and so was with Paula, because she was as close to Maximum as he was able to get. I was a senior at the time, but I was turning for a grade 9 class for extra credit, and when I was in the staff room, I remember being cornered by several teachers asking me for inside information, because it was such juicy gossip. Edit, to change one name I left in by accident. As a student who knew them both, a brand new teacher, 23 years old, dating a student, 18, after she graduated. They are now married with kids, so I guess it's okay. As an adult, a complete overhaul in the structure of the school. Lots of people got fired for embezzlement. Edit, yes, the age difference is fine. The power dynamic is not. If you were in high school and told your parents I'm dating my teacher, they would be understandably upset. A chick shoved a lava lamp up her nether region while webcamming with some dude, which of course got screenshotted and printed out X100 and plastered all over school. She had to move away. In this day and age there'd probably be a subreddit for that kind of stuff. Edit, well now my highest rated post is about Lonique lava lamp. Senior year, after the homecoming football game, the seniors returned to the high school to collect our yearbooks or something along those lines. Only this time there were hundreds upon hundreds of letters scattered all across the front lawn of our high school. This letter basically was a hate list of someone's and spilled all the dirty little secrets of like 7 or 8 kids. Police got involved and was blown way out of proportion. Was really original, I suppose, but still pretty shitty of the person to do that. We had a school exchange program with a city in Mexico. Some exchange students locked themselves in the computer lab and sent mails home that they were afraid to leave the room. We had a huge Nazi problem back then, including regular gatherings at the local lake. They agreed to leave the room once police was around. This was in Germany BTW. I went to a very religious K-12 school. A girl got pregnant and was kicked out for being sexually active despite her insisting that she'd been raped. They cited some bullshit Bible passage about how, if a woman claims she was raped, but didn't call out for help, that she wasn't actually raped. Their evidence for her not calling out for help was that no one came to her aid, when obviously someone would have, if she'd called out. Because apparently there's no such thing as gags, or being threatened with harm death, and there's always someone within earshot 100% of the time. Then a guy who was like 17 was caught having 6-2 Tory raping a girl who was like 12 or 13. They were both kicked out, but he was eventually allowed to come back. Not her though. That place was dug up. We had an undercover cop pretend to be a student. It didn't work. It could have been the fact that he pulled up in a brand new SRT Challenger $60K car at the time, or the fact he was 6'9" and had Iraqi 07 tattooed on his arm. Also, we put the student driver car on the roof. Our principal was pretty mellow about it. He addressed the students pretty bro-like to, I get it, you guys really wanted to do a senior prank, but whoever put the car on the roof, please step forward. We are having issues getting our new air conditioning units on the roof. It's too ducking hot to deal with this. Kid named Billy stepped forward and had his father's crane company remove the car and put the AC units up for free in exchange for not being expelled. 2 teachers got caught having an affair while one of their spouses was dying of cancer. No, Newt Gingrich was not my teacher. A Spanish teacher was fired on a Thursday. He came back in on Friday with a legally purchased stack in a guitar case. He went into the headmistress's office and killed her, and then shot himself. This was at a fancy Christian private school, so it shocked everyone. People always worry about students shooting up schools, but this time it was a teacher. When I was in 8th grade, some super popular chick Snapchatted a few people a video of her masturbating with a marker. Of course, it spread around the school in a few days, and people still call her Crayola to this day. My senior year there was a girl who accidentally put nudes of herself on her Snapchat story. She deleted it off her story, but people took screenshots. The problem was that she was 17 at the time, so the police were talking to her about everything. Then she snitched out a much loved classmate who was selling weed so that the attention would be off her. The guy was caught with weed in his car and her nudes on his phone, so the police tried to get him with possession of child pronoun because he was 19. She became the most hated person in the senior class after that. A kid once stabbed the teacher at my high school. We weren't even allowed to talk about it. Needless to say he's still in prison. Went to a Catholic all-girls school. Girl got pregnant. She was first kicked out. Then one of the nuns yelled at the principal, who then agreed to let her come back if it meant after school hours and being taught her lessons in an old classroom in the basement by said principal. Girls in each class had abortions by the time they graduated. But because you could see the pregnancy, my friend wasn't allowed to be taught properly and wasn't allowed to walk at graduation. Volleyball coach got pregnant my senior year of high school by her daughter's boyfriend. The daughter was a junior at the time, and the boyfriend had already graduated. The only reason anyone knew was because the coach and her husband were white, and the boyfriend was black. The daughter and boyfriend stayed together, and are now married with a kid of their own. Coach and her husband stayed together, and raised the baby together as their own. To my knowledge, neither couple plans on telling their kids what happened. Edit, by her daughter's boyfriend. Not with her daughter's boyfriend. In my sophomore year we had this horrible principal that wasn't respected by any of the staff there. Our teachers would often go on rants about him and the terrible decisions he made. One day he actually did a horrible thing that could have ended disastrously. He was seeing a woman that was cheating on her husband. The husband found out, and during a school day he called the principal from the school and said he was going to come and kill him. Usually when a threat like that is made, you're supposed to put the school on lockdown, since you could be putting everyone's life at risk. Instead he sat in his office and kept it private, hoping that it was an empty threat and that the situation would blow over and he would be free from embarrassment. Thankfully it was an empty threat. However, when the faculty found out about the whole situation, they made sure that he was fired for it. He also became a laughingstock in the entire school and town for the next year and a half. Pretty sure there was an article about it in some newspapers as well. My high school had a few. Apparently the debate teacher had been running something of a drug ring around school for years. The cheerleading coach was sleeping with three of the football players. And my economics teacher was framed by the Russian government for killing her adopted babies. My junior year of high school I went to a vocational program for computers half day. The room next to ours was graphic design and the teacher was a creepy old 40 to 50-year-old man. He was married and I believe had a kid, but a girl from my school was in his class. Rumors started spreading that the teacher was having an affair with said girl. And I went into the class a couple of times and they were uncomfortably close. The next year the teacher got a divorce with his wife. The girl was now graduated and she kept posting pictures of them together. 4 years later they are now married and have a child. Similar situation happened in junior high. Young 23-year-old male teacher and a senior girl were very close and many rumors of people catching them together outside of school. She graduated and they were together until a couple years ago, I believe. Bonus, our boys and girls golf coaches are married and were teacher and student respectively. Safe to say our teachers really like our students. Edit, grammar. A gay music teacher in my school was arrested for touching children. The story doesn't end there, though. Turns out a kid from a Christian family was just upset the school allowed a gay teacher to work there and made the false accusation to get him removed. Teacher's life is now ruined and the kid got away scot-free. So this teacher in my school got caught texting with one of his students. It was quite funny how he was caught. He accidentally sent one of the messages to the whole class. This picture was in every kid's phone by the next day. Imga. Comtochio9. Little backstory before the incident. I lived in a neighborhood with a terribly tight curve. During winter months it was truly treacherous. One day I took the corner too quickly and went over the edge of the road and high-centered my truck. Ford Ranger. A kid from high school sees me stuck and pulls over to offer his assistance. He pulls out a collapsible shovel and I use it to dig some dirt from the side of the road and put it under my back tire for some traction on the icy road. Get truck back up on the road, thank the kid, and give him his shovel back. Roughly a week later, previously mentioned nice kid is tackled at school and arrested by local law enforcement. Apparently his parents disapproved of his girlfriend and were kicking him out of the house to live on his own. He suffered from bipolar disorder and murdered both his parents, stuck them in a shed, and planned to bury them after school. Law enforcement found his parents after their work had reported both had no call, no showed. My selfish, as whole high school self was only worried about one thing. Don't fingerprint the shovel. Apostrophe. Not exactly a scandal, but it was kinda weird. There was a cute guy teacher that quite a few girls were obsessed with. One girl in particular would spend every free time she had during the day with him. Free periods, lunch, after school. She could always be found talking about him if she wasn't with him. She knew where he lived and would go there to hang out and would take pictures of photos in his house. Fast forward, the teacher has a baby. This girl and other girls who were obsessed with him went to his baby shower. When the baby was actually being born, they would keep in touch with him his friends that they weirdly befriended to see how far along his wife was. They even considered going to the hospital. By the end of the year, girls literally kept pictures of his baby on Instagram and talked about how cute he was. Anyways, most of the girls graduated, but they still bother him and even try to babysit his kid. It's all kind of ducked, and the poor guy has to deal with all these crazy girls stalking him and an assumption that he is having inappropriate relationships. One student trying to burn it down, and my middle-aged history teacher left his wife and 2 young children for a student. My 16-year-old classmate had a crush on her 60-something-year-old teacher. She asked him to tutoring outside of school, and they had sex several times. It all came out when he accidentally sent a text to his wife that he meant to send to her. The biggest scandal I can think of at my high school is someone who always wore a trench coat, slightly odd but cool person, coming to school in a trench coat after Columbine incident. They made him take it off. Everyone talked about it. My high school was pretty tame. Someone got bullied, and so they made cupcakes. The cupcakes were filled with semen and called cupcakes. Now there's a school-wide policy where you can only bring in store-bought foods that haven't been op.